What's up guys, my name is Ace, and last night there was a very interesting leak in the community that I wanted to talk about today, and this is apparently Sledgehammer's next Call of Duty game is going to be a sequel to Advanced Warfare. So effectively it could be Advanced Warfare 2, or they might call it something else, but it looks like their next game is going to be set in the future again. Now before we get into my thoughts on this leak is coming from Rouse Valve, and it was also corroborated by the Ghost of Hope, so there's a couple different leakers with independent sources that seem to be hearing similar things here. However, I do want to be clear about this one, since we're talking so far in advance for Call of Duty. I'm not trusting these particular leaks too heavily, but since it is coming from a couple different sources, I do feel like it's worth at least discussing and sharing my thoughts on this, assuming this turns out to be true. Now, a big thing that I'm hearing here, according to the leakers, is Modern Warfare 2 is still expected to be a 2-year Call of Duty title, so apparently no regular Call of Duty game next year, although things could potentially change with that still. And therefore, Treyarch's next Call of Duty game will be releasing in 2024. As for this sequel to Advanced Warfare, apparently it's expected to be coming in 2025, and therefore Treyarch's Call of Duty game won't also be getting a 2-year cycle like Modern Warfare 2, and I think this 2-year cycle for Modern Warfare 2 is mainly just like a catch-up year so that all the studios can get on the same page with the new engine. So that's the leaked but not confirmed timeline that we're currently working with when it comes to these titles. Now I just wanted to share my thoughts on Sledgehammer's next game apparently being a sequel to Advanced Warfare. I'll be honest, when I woke up to this news, I was very surprised. This is not what I would have expected for Sledgehammer's next Call of Duty game at all. Now, don't get me wrong, I also didn't expect them to do another World War II shooter. It seems like that setting is played out for the moment when it comes to Call of Duty. I still strongly believe that is the #1 reason for the failures of Vanguard. Not saying Vanguard didn't have other issues, but I do feel like the setting was one of the biggest things that impacted its initial sales. And then with all the other problems with the game, that's more so what contributed to it falling off so quickly after launch. So I definitely didn't expect Sledgehammer to make another World War II COD, but I also didn't expect them to be going all the way into the future again, and presumably having an advanced movement or a jetpack Call of Duty. I think bringing jetpacks back to Call of Duty would be quite a big risk, and this is coming from somebody that likes jetpacks in Call of Duty. I really enjoy the advanced movement Call of Duty games. I just think that it is quite polarizing for the community, and I don't think it's necessarily the most healthy thing for the franchise in general. And I was really thinking if Sledgehammer gets another Call of Duty game that they would likely play it a lot safer and not push the limits of things. I thought maybe they would just do another modern setting, or maybe like a near future setting where they still keep things very grounded, not have jetpacks or advanced movement, but maybe push things a bit into the future. But from the sounds of it, if this is actually a sequel to Advanced Warfare, perhaps they could change the movement up in some way, but it would be kind of strange for them to suddenly get rid of all jetpacks. Like, how would they explain that in the story? I guess it's possible, or maybe they just come out with a new style of exosuit for that game that just behaves a little different than the other one, so it can tone down the advanced movement a little bit for those that hate the super, like, crazy double jumps that we had in that game, and the really, really quick dashing that we had as well. So perhaps they could find a way to bridge that gap between the people that despise advanced movement versus the people that like some advanced movement in their game. But at this point, it's so early on, we're just left to speculate. Well, like I said, I do think this will be quite polarizing, and I'm already seeing a lot of responses to this, with some people that are firmly against this and are saying straight up, I won't even consider buying this, and then you have people on the other side that are like, yeah, I think it's time for jetpacks to come back. I guess when you consider the timeline of things, with this not coming for another 3 years, maybe they're just predicting that at that point, the community will once again be ready for some advanced movement, and maybe they're just trying to predict burnout with the current style of Call of Duty, and they're trying to stay ahead of the game to ensure that they're mixing variety in down the road. Now, this also raises another big question, and this is, how are they going to handle Battle Royale or an extraction-style mode or whatever free-to-play experience that they would presumably be bringing alongside Advanced Warfare 2? It seems like that is the model they'll be using going forward, at least for the foreseeable future. What is that mode going to look like if it's tied in with Advanced Warfare 2? Are we going to also have advanced movement in that? Is it also going to be a super futuristic setting? Or is there going to be a disconnect between the mainline game and whatever free-to-play experience it is for that year? This is yet another reason that I was so surprised to see this leak. Because if they were to bring advanced movement into Warzone, for instance, I feel like that could be potentially disastrous. I feel like that would destroy a lot of the community. So many of the people that love Warzone would immediately be turned off by this and wouldn't even really give it a shot, which is fair enough because that is such a drastic change. And knowing Activision, they're not usually the types to take such massive risks when it comes to things like this. I definitely expected them to play things a lot more safe going forward and trying to keep a lot more cohesion, at least in the general gameplay mechanics, across multiple titles going forward. Having said that, I do feel like it would be kind of interesting to have some variety when it comes to the studios, where essentially Infinity Ward would handle the modern Call of Duty games with their Modern Warfare series. Treyarch would presumably handle past Call of Duty games, because it looks like their next Call of Duty game is going to be set in the Gulf War. And then after this leak especially, that would leave Sledgehammer to do a futuristic game. And since the Call of Duty community is so massive and fractured as well, and so many different people want different things out of Call of Duty because it's tried so many things over the years and attracted people with different tastes, at least on paper, that seems like that could be a good idea, especially if they could support each of those games over multiple years as a crossover. Even after the next one launches, they could continue supporting the previous one for those players that prefer that style of a Call of Duty game and don't necessarily want to get the next one. But then when you think about how Activision operates, why would they want to do that? Their entire model is essentially based around ensuring that the players are buying the new game every single year, and they would want to keep that going forward. So having such a drastic difference between titles, I feel is more of a risk than anything with this style of a model that they're using. So overall, this leak really isn't sitting right with me. It seems like something's off here. It doesn't seem like this is the direction that Activision would normally take. But like I said, I still feel like it's worth reporting on and sharing my thoughts and opinions on as well. And before we wrap this up, there's one other leak that came out from the Ghost of Hope that kind of got overshadowed by this big news here. But this is just sort of an update to the rumored map pack that we're going to be getting next year for Modern Warfare 2. And previously, this was leaked to be an original Modern Warfare 2 map pack, where basically you have every single map from the original Modern Warfare 2 coming all at once sometime next year, presumably to breathe a lot of life back into the game, because us Call of Duty players have been conditioned to expect a new Call of Duty every year, and if we don't get one next year, how are they going to keep those players hooked and playing in the franchise for another year? And when it comes to this, we got some updates. Apparently, this is going to be a paid map pack. We don't know exactly what the price point would be on that. My guess would be like not the cost of a full-on Call of Duty game, but more like, I don't know, $30, $40 maybe. And apparently this won't just include the original Modern Warfare 2 maps, and instead this would be more of a greatest hits collection of maps that would include maps from all of the studios. So not just Infinity Ward maps, but some older Treyarch and Sledgehammer maps as well. And with that one, that's really all there is to mention when it comes to the update. It would be interesting to see that paid DLC. I'd be curious to see what that does to matchmaking and lobbies, because we finally got away from fracturing the community based on which map packs they own, because they were purchasable map packs. And I personally think that's one of the best things about newer Call of Duty games, is they don't fracture people based on the map packs that they own. But by bringing this paid map pack in next year, it would once again do that. It would once again fracture that player base, which just seems a little bit odd to me. In either case, that's everything I wanted to cover in today's video. Definitely some interesting leaks here, and I'm curious to hear what you guys are thinking about this in the comments down below. What would you think about a sequel to Advanced Warfare coming in 2025, developed by Sledgehammer? Is that something you'd be interested in? Would you be excited for Advanced Movement to return? Or is that something you wouldn't really be interested in at all? And also, what would you think about a paid map pack next year that gives us a ton of older remastered Call of Duty maps for Modern Warfare 2? Is that something you'd be interested in? Or do you think you would just stick with the base maps in the game? Just let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.